Welcome back to the Flying with the Flock podcast, the best place to get all of your Eagles and other NFL related news. I'm your host, Matt, and ladies and gentlemen, we have made it past the national holiday of football, and now we are moving on to December. And as we move into December, that means that the playoff picture is going to become more crystal clear as we go week by week. Now, with some of the worst teams being eliminated, like the Giants, the Titans. There's a few teams that have been eliminated, and there are quite a few more that could be eliminated this week, depending on how things play out. But before we jump into all of that, if I could ask you guys to leave a like and subscribe down below, that would be much appreciated. Your support does not go unnoticed from me, and I'm working on some stuff that could spice up this show during the off season a little bit. So, till then, try to stick around. But jumping right into it, I'm going to get into some quick notes before we get into this weekend's games, since all teams played this weekend. So, there's not too much NFL news. I'll get into the Eagles. All right, I know what you guys are waiting for. I'll get into the Eagles here in a couple minutes. There's not too much NFL news besides just how much the standings have shaken up over this past week, with now like the team like the Bears, who are now number one in the NFC. Teams like the Panthers, who could make a push here to try to beat out the Buccaneers for the NFC South and become at least a fourth seed in the NFC. Teams like the Seahawks, who are now creeping back in because teams like the Rams are slipping. Same thing with the Eagles and Cowboys. Eagles are starting to falter. Cowboys are starting to creep in. Patriots. The AFC, the top of the AFC, is so dominant that there won't be too much movement, I don't think. The only movement you're going to see is going to be the AFC North or the AFC South. I believe the AFC East and AFC West are kind of cut and dry. Broncos are going to win some games just enough to get them out in front of the Chargers, and the Patriots are going to win enough games just to get themselves out in front of the Bills. Ravens and Steelers are going to constantly battle out for that number one AFC North spot, and Jaguars and Colts are going to constantly battle out for that one AFC South spot, with the Texans being in there as a lurker to try to upset either one of these two teams to stamp their way into the number one spot in the division. We kind of alluded to the NFC, but a lot of the bottom teams are kind of like sealed and shut, with teams like the Lions and Cowboys having a shot. But teams like the 49ers, who are, I believe, last in the... let me do this. So as of right now, teams like the 49ers and the Packers and the Seahawks are all kind of clogging up these bottom three seeds in the NFC. So that makes it hard for teams like the Lions and Cowboys to punch their ticket, who both play this Thursday. That's a very important matchup for you to watch if you're into like the playoff seeding, like I am. So... yes, and the top four are going to be, well, top three. You're going to see a rotation between whoever comes out on the NFC North, which could be Chicago, could be Green Bay, whoever comes out in the West, which is probably going to be Los Angeles, and whoever comes out in the East, who as of right now is probably going to be Philly. So these three top teams are going to rotate. Philly, if they tie with the Rams, they have the same record. That means they have the tiebreak over the Rams, so Philly would be above LA. Chicago has the tiebreak over the Eagles, so it's really hard to say how things are going to shake up. I think next episode I'm going to sit down and do my own personal playoff picture, how I think things are going to end up, especially with us coming into the home stretch of games here now. Alright, so that was all the quick notes. We'll get into my top 5 teams here. So my top 5 teams, at number 5, we still have the Indianapolis Colts, Yes, they lost to the Texans, but this Texans team is surging here late. Now they've lost control of their own destiny. They need Jacksonville to lose, but they also play Jacksonville this week. So as of right now, if they win this game, I'm not sure the rest of their schedule. They play the Jaguars twice here and the Texans once more. I feel like the Colts, as of right now, I was wrong. They can control their own destiny, but they need to win divisional games. They have tough games against the Seahawks and the 49ers. Winning one of those would help, but winning 2 out of the 3 divisional games and definitely sweeping the Jaguars would absolutely put them in a golden position to secure this AFC South division that they fought so hard for so far this season. Though it should be noted that Daniel Jones does have a fracture, I believe, in his fibula. Yeah, he's limited by his injury as of right now, so we're going to have to see how things work out. Maybe Anthony Richardson comes in for a game or two. But, yeah, he has a fracture in his fibula, Daniel Jones. So we'll have to just see how things shake out. But moving forward, Colts can control their own destiny and maybe even get the second seed if everything shakes out perfectly for them. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are coming off of a bad loss against an okay Panthers team who are looking to steal the NFC South. The Rams, Matthew Stafford, although he set like the NFL record for most passing touchdowns without an interception, he would go on to throw a pick six and then another interception on top of that. So he had a really rough game. And the top 2 touchdown to interception ratio quarterbacks, that being Matthew Stafford and Jalen Hurts, both struggled with interceptions this past weekend. So I wonder who is NFL News. Let's see. Oh, come on. Well, whatever. Yeah, I was going to look up who is now the leader. I feel like it would still be Hurts or Stafford because they are so far ahead of, they are so far ahead of all the other quarterbacks being listed here. So, we'll just have to wait it out and see. Rams, I'm not too concerned about. I feel like they'll probably come back and bounce back, but they need to watch out because if they start losing some games, because who are they playing next? Rams. They play the Cardinals. That should be an easy game. Lions could be fairly difficult if that's a team that's fighting to get into the playoffs. Seahawks, if they're looking to bounce back and maybe even try to secure the NFC West. Those are 2 hard games in a couple of weeks, back-to-back, that could spell misfortune for the Rams. At number 3, I put the Broncos. A lot of people would want me to put them higher. Yes, they're one of only 2 double-digit win teams, but I just can't. This team is getting by on by the skin of their teeth, and ultimately, I don't know whether that's going to last. Who do they play? Let me look this up. Raiders, that's probably going to be an easy game. Packers, that's going to be a difficult game. Jaguars could be difficult. Chiefs could be difficult. Chargers could be difficult. So it's not like they have the easiest stretch moving forward. Their last 4 games could show them some problems, and they could go 2-2 in that stretch, or if, at worst, 1-3. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Broncos late in the season take a step back and lose the momentum that they have moving forward into the playoffs. They kind of remind me like the 2023 Eagles or the 2020 Pittsburgh Steelers, if you guys remember any of those teams. Next up, at number 2, we have the Texans. Now, Yes, they are not number one in their division, but that defense has been playing lights out for weeks now. They've almost played lights out against the Broncos. They almost played lights out against, oh no, Jaguars kind of beat them up a little bit. Titans, that's a concerning game, but the Bills, the Colts, those are stellar games. And now on Sunday Night Football, they get to face Patrick Mahomes. If they shut down the Chiefs, I think they become one of the favorites to win the AFC, in my opinion. I believe C.J. Stroud is back playing once again, which is good for them. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how the rest of their season lines up. They play the Colts one more time. If the Colts come back and beat them, that's going to be a little bit harder for them to sneak in. They play tough teams like the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Colts. They could go at worst 1-2 in that stretch. I feel like they might go 2-1 in that stretch. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. But as of right now, I really like the Texans moving forward as the AFC South dark horse to win the division. And lastly, at number one, we kind of have a no-brainer here. We have the New England Patriots. The Patriots have been on a absolute roll. Drake May has been one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL for weeks now. He's probably who's the odds-on favorite NFL MVP odds? Let's go. I'm just going to use FanDuel. This is not a sponsor, but as of right now, Drake May is the leading front runner for 2025 MVP at minus 125, and that's kind of a safe bet. Matthew Stafford was probably ahead of him, but now he took a step back. So Stafford's at plus 125. Dak Prescott's at plus 1,600. So I'm going to say that your safe bets, if you're going to bet, is going to have to be on Drake May, or Matthew Stafford. In the next couple of weeks, I'm going to go into some of the betting odds for some of these awards moving forward. We'll have Matt's Betting Corner for all the gambling degenerates. Trust me, if I was legally able to gamble, I would probably put a little bit of money on some of this stuff. But, yeah. Some stuff is like NFL Coach of the Year. We know who that's going to. That's going to Mike Vrabel, or that's going to Ben Johnson. Comeback Boy of the Year. What did Dak Prescott come back from? Being ass? I would put Daniel Jones up there, me personally. Well, no, he came back from being ass, too. Maybe Hutch. I feel like... Okay, we'll get into this rant at a later date. I was about to get into something, and I was going to be long-winded, but we don't have time for that today. And now, probably what you are all waiting for, we have the Philadelphia Eagles losing to the Chicago Bears 24-15. Let's get into the raw stats. I don't really have much analysis because it's been the same thing I've been saying for the past few months, but I'm going to have some extra comments on top of that. Jalen Hurts. He went 19-34, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception through the air. Saquon was the lead rusher. He had 13 carries for 56 yards. Jalen Hurts had 4 carries for 31 yards. Receiving wise, A.J. Brown led the charge. He had 10 receptions for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day. Devontae Smith had 5 receptions for 48 yards. Dallas Goedert, 2 receptions for 27 yards. Jahan Dotson, 1 reception for 12 yards. And Will Shipley, 1 reception for 11 yards. Defensive-wise, they had 2 sacks on the quarterback. They barely were able to put any pressure on... why am I forgetting his name now? No. Now Caleb Williams. I want to say Cam Williams for some reason. Caleb Williams. And ultimately, it just really wasn't enough to put the Bears behind the sticks. And they certainly weren't able to stop the run, which we're going to get into in a minute here. But moving over to Bears, Caleb Williams, he went 17 of 36, 154 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Rushing wise, their top rusher was Kyle Monangae. He had 22 carries for 130 yards and 1 touchdown. DeAndre Swift had 18 carries for 125 yards and 1 touchdown. So that shows you the kind of day that they were having. Cole Kmet, he had 3 receptions for 36 yards and a touchdown. Luther Burton had 4 receptions for 33 yards. Colston Loveland had 3 receptions for 28 yards. Olamide Zaccheaus had 2 receptions for 19 yards. And DJ Moore had 2 receptions for 17 yards. Defense-wise, they were able to intercept the quarterback twice, and they were able to sack Jalen Hurts 0 times. So, ultimately, their pass rush wasn't that great. It was more the Eagles making mistakes. So, let's jump right into it. Here's where I'm going to keep this short and brief. All right? If we do not fire Kevin Patula, or if we do not force him to take a step back internally, whether we announce it or not, this Eagles team is not making it past the wild card round. I can bet you dollars to donuts. If you want to take me up on that bet and you know me, feel free to text me. But unless change is made, nothing good will come of this. Alright? These kids egging Kevin Patula's house. You see all these wimps online. Oh my God, don't egg his house. Blame the players, not the coach. Egg his house. Continue to egg his house until he learns his lesson. Alright? I do not care. Alright? I'm a true Philadelphian here. These other guys that go online and act like they're from Philly and they enjoy the Eagles, but don't hurt the coaches, don't throw eggs at the coach's house. Yeah, do your job, and that won't happen. And do your job well, not half-ass it. Yeah, we have high expectations. It's either you meet them or you get the hell out. Got it? Understand. At the end of the day, this Eagles team needs to change, and fast. Defense starting to fail. Offense has been failing since the start of the season. We need an identity. End of story. Alright, moving on to some other NFL games. Let's move on to some of the Thanksgiving Day games here. We got Packers-Lions. This one was pretty big for the NFC playoff picture. You had the Packers beating up on the Lions 31-24. And it really didn't feel that close. Jordan Love, he went 18 of 30, 234 yards, and 4 touchdowns through the air. And Josh Jacobs had 17 carries for 83 yards. He was their leading rusher. Receiving-wise, I'm going to name the top 4 and then move on. So I do want to say this, moving forward, I'm only going to name the top 4 receivers. If you guys want to find stats, feel free to go online. Google has them right ready for you. ESPN has them for you. So yeah, I'm only naming the top 4 receivers moving forward. Dontavion Wicks was their leading receiver. He had 6 receptions for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. Christian Watson had 4 receptions for 80 yards and 1 touchdown. Luke Musgrave had 1 reception for 23 yards. And Romeo Doubs had 4 receptions for 20 yards and 1 touchdown. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback quite a few times, sacking him thrice. So applying enough pressure to make Jared Goff uncomfortable in the pocket, which seems to be the ultimate way to beat the Lions this season. But they were not able to force any turnovers of Jared Goff. Speaking of Jared Goff, he went 20 of 26, 256 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. Rushing-wise, Jahmyr Gibbs, he had 20 carries for 68 yards on the ground. David Montgomery had 8 carries for 32 yards and 1 touchdown. Receiving-wise, Jameson Williams, he had 7 receptions for 144 yards and 1 touchdown. He was their leading receiver, with Amon-Ra St. Brown going down with an injury. Ooh, excuse me. Tom Kennedy, he had 4 receptions for 36 yards. Isaac Tesla, he had 2 receptions for 35 yards and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs had 3 receptions for 18 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to not sack the quarterback once, nor intercept him as well. So that ultimately put a ton of pressure on the offense to continue to perform. Ultimately, I'm starting to get a little bit concerned with this Lions team. So they're coming up on the Thursday night football game against the Cowboys. Basically, whoever wins has a chance of making the playoff. Loser is a long, long shot. So, Packers, good win. You guys might have knocked out your division rival out of the playoffs. So, keep moving forward. You guys are only technically a game behind the Bears. So, it's going to be interesting to see what you guys do over the next few weeks to shorten up the lead of Chicago. Next up, we have another Thanksgiving Day game. We had the Dallas Cowboys beating the Kansas City Chiefs 31-28. Dak Prescott, he went 27-39, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception on the day. Rushing-wise, their lead rusher was Javonte Williams. He had 17 carries for 59 yards. But Malik Davis had 3 carries for 47 yards and 1 touchdown. So, take it as you will. CeeDee Lamb, he had 7 receptions for 112 yards and 1 touchdown. George Pickens had more of a quiet game. He had 6 receptions for 88 yards. Jake Ferguson had 5 receptions for 36 yards. Ryan Flournoy had 3 receptions for 34 yards. And that's all I'm going to name right there. And defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback, it looks like 3 or 4 times, getting after Mahomes and putting him flat on his back. Though they were not able to force any turnovers themselves, so that did not help their case too much, which is probably what made it a close game anyway. Speaking of Patty Mahomes going up against this Cowboys defense, he went 23 of 34, 261 yards, 4 touchdowns through the air. On the ground, Kareem Hunt only had 14 carries for 58 yards, but Patrick Mahomes had 3 carries for 30 yards. Receiving-wise, Rashid Rice led the charge. He had 8 receptions for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. Xavier Worthy had 4 receptions for 61 yards. And Travis Kelce had 5 receptions for 45 yards and 1 touchdown. There's really nobody else of note here. And defensive-wise, they were able to intercept Dak Prescott. I believe I said it was once. And they were able to not sack the quarterback a single time. Ultimately, which would have probably forced another turnover by this Cowboys offense. And that probably would have put them in a prime position to win. With this loss, it makes the Chiefs' path to the NFL playoffs 10 times harder. They needed to win most of their games going from Thanksgiving on, and falling flat on your face from the starting line isn't quite an ideal stance. Cowboys, good win. Chiefs are kind of a bad team anyway, but you guys are surging on a 3-game win streak. You guys have to play a Lions, and like I already mentioned, it's really a long shot for the loser, so y'all better hope that you guys win, or this is not going to be a pretty end to the season. We have Bengals-Ravens. This one I'm going to go over quickly. This was the return of Joe Burrow. The Bengals beat the Ravens 34-14. Joe Burrow, he went 24 of 46, 261 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the day. Rushing-wise, Chase Brown led the charge. He had 15 carries for 78 yards, but Samaje Perine came in eventually. He had 14 carries for 39 yards. Receiving-wise, Jamar Chase had 7 receptions for 110 yards. Chase Brown had 7 receptions for 35 yards. Yep, I read that right. Andre Iosivas had 1 reception for 29 yards and a touchdown. Mitchell Tinsley had 2 receptions for 22 yards. And that's really anybody I'm going to note there. But then who scored all the touchdowns if there was only 2 passing touchdowns and no rushing touchdowns? Oh, that's kind of weird. Were there defensive touchdowns? Maybe. So we had some forced fumbles, some strip fumbles by the defense. They had an interception. They had some fumble returns, which is where a lot of their touchdowns came from. Yeah, they had around 3, I think. And ultimately, they had 2 sacks. but the 2 sacks were fairly influential, and they were putting a lot of pressure on Lamar Jackson to try to make a play. Lamar, he went 17 of 32, 246 yards, and 1 interception on the day. Derrick Henry, he had 10 carries for 60 yards and 1 touchdown. Why you only give this man 10 carries, I don't know. Lamar himself had 6 carries for 27 yards. And I'll add this guy because he got a touchdown. We have Keaton Mitchell with 2 carries for 19 yards and 1 touchdown. Receiving-wise, their lead receiver was Isaiah Likely. He had 5 receptions for 95 yards. Mark Andrews had 4 receptions for 47 yards. Derrick Henry had 1 reception for 44 yards. And DeAndre Hopkins had 2 receptions for 25 yards. Defense. They were able to get after the quarterback 1 time. They sacked him once. They forced 1 fumble, but they ultimately were not able to generate any points off of that. So this game was kind of huge for the AFC North. The Bengals helped out the Steelers a little bit by keeping them in the game. Bengals, it would be a long shot for them to make the playoffs. But if their defense and offense continues to play like that, they might win out on the rest of the season and try to force a Bengals playoff appearance, which is not something any AFC team wants to see, let me tell you. So, yeah, Ravens, this is a tough loss, though now you guys are technically first in the division, tied with the Steelers, and you guys are coming into, I believe, Steelers week. Yeah, you guys play the Steelers. So the AFC North is going to be decided this weekend, and those teams always play each other tough. Ravens fans, I'd be slightly concerned, and Bengals fans, I would be fairly happy with y'all's performance, especially with Joe Burrow's first game back. All right, so let's blitz through some of these games here. Saints-Dolphins. Dolphins beat the Saints 21-17. Tua, he went 12 of 23, 157 yards, and 1 interception through the air. On the ground, Devon Achane dominated. He had 22 carries for 134 yards and 1 touchdown on the day. Receiving-wise, Darren Waller was their lead receiver. He had 2 receptions for 47 yards. Jalen Waddle had 3 receptions for 40 yards. Malik Washington had 4 receptions for 30 yards. And Greg Dulcich had 2 receptions for 24 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to intercept and force a fumble, which was a fumble return as well. So they were able to generate some points off of defense. And, they were also able to apply the rookie Tyler Shuck. Or not apply. They were able to pressure the rookie Tyler Shuck roughly 3 times. Or 4 times, actually. Speaking of Tyler Shuck, he went 26 of 38, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Rushing-wise, their lead rusher was Devin Neal. He had 14 carries for 47 yards. And Tyler Shuck had 6 carries for 18 yards as well. Receiving-wise, Devon Veely had 8 receptions for 93 yards and 1 touchdown. Chris Olave had 4 receptions for 47 yards and a touchdown. Juwan Johnson had 5 receptions and 39 yards. And Devin Neal had 3 receptions for 22 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to intercept Tua once, and they were able to sack the quarterback 4 times, but ultimately could not generate too many opportunities for this offense to go down and score. Ultimately, the Saints have been eliminated from the playoffs with this loss, and the Dolphins ruined their draft position. I mean, I don't know what to tell them, but at this point, it's kind of mute. The point is mute for the Dolphins. They're not going to win out. They're not going to win against teams like the Steelers, Bengals, Buccaneers, or Patriots. So they probably have one more win in the season, and then they go 6-11. And Saints, you guys had nothing to play for anyway this season, so suck it up. Texans Colts had huge implications for the AFC South, as we went over earlier. Texans beat the Colts 20-16. CJ Stroud, he went 22 of 35, 276 yards, and 1 interception on the day. Joaquavius Marks, he had 19 carries for 64 yards. Nick Chubb, he had 9 carries for 34 yards and a touchdown. And I'll give it to him because he had a touchdown rushing. We had Nico Collins with 1 carry for 7 yards and 1 touchdown. But Nico Collins was also the lead receiver as well. He had 5 receptions for 98 yards through the air. Jaden Higgins was right behind him, 5 receptions for 65 yards. Dalton Schultz, 5 receptions for 55 yards. And Xavier Hutchinson with 2 receptions for 39 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback once, but they could not generate any turnovers on defense, which was slightly concerning, which kept it a close match for the Colts. For the Colts, Daniel Jones went 114. Holy Jesus. He went 14 of 27, 201 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day through the air. On the ground, Jonathan Taylor led the way. He had 21 carries for 85 yards. Receiving-wise, Alec Pierce, he had 4 receptions for 78 yards and 1 touchdown. He led the team in receiving. Josh Downs had 2 receptions for 44 yards. Jonathan Taylor had 3 receptions for 36 yards, and Tyler Warren had 3 receptions for 22 yards and 1 touchdown. Defensive-wise, they were able to intercept the quarterback once, and they were also able to force a fumble as well, which probably kept the game close, but they were only able to sack C.J. Stroud twice, which against a offensive line like this should be coming like easy. It should not be that hard to get a sack against the Texans' offensive line. Ultimately, Colts still control their own destiny. Texans need a couple things to go their way to make it into the AFC playoff picture, but they still have a possibility of making it, especially after starting off the season so bad. Let's just see how things play out moving forward. Next up, we have the New York Jets beating the Atlanta Falcons 27-24. Tyrod Taylor was the quarterback for the Jets this game. He went 19 of 33, 172 yards, and 1 touchdown on the day. Rushing-wise, Breece Hall led the way. He had 19 carries for 68 yards and 1 touchdown. But Tyrod Taylor also had 8 carries for 44 yards and a touchdown. Receiving-wise, Adonai Mitchell led the charge. He had 8 receptions for 102 yards and 1 touchdown. Mason Taylor had 2 receptions for 21 yards. John Mechie had 4 receptions for 19 yards. And Jeremy Rutger had 2 receptions for 12 yards. Defensive-wise, they were only able to sack the quarterback twice, but they were able to apply a little bit more pressure than just sacking the quarterback twice. They also weren't able to force any turnovers as well. Moving over to Kirk Cousins, which is like the second coming of Matt Ryan on the Indianapolis Colts. If you know, you know. Kirk Cousins, he went 21 of 33, 234 yards, and 1 touchdown on the day. Rushing-wise, Bijan Robinson had 23 carries for 142 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground. Tyler Algier also had 8 carries for 20 yards and 1 touchdown on the day. Receiving-wise, Kyle Pitts had 7 receptions for 82 yards. Bijan Robinson had 5 receptions for 51 yards. Tyler Algier had 2 receptions for 35 yards. And Darnell Mooney had 2 receptions for 25 yards. Defensive-wise, they were only able to sack Tyrod Taylor twice, and I believe their pressure was a lot less than the Jets, but still they were able to find ways to slow down this Jets offense to keep it a close game and keep the Jets offense behind the sticks. So ultimately, Jets and Falcons really don't have anything to play for besides draft spot, and even that, the Falcons don't have a draft pick in the first round this year. So they're not even playing for their draft spot. They're playing for the Rams draft spot. Jets, good win. You guys have more wins than I believe the Chiefs in the month of November. So good job, I guess. Yeah, you guys have 2 wins. The Chiefs have 1 in the month of November. So Good job, Jets. Better luck next time, Falcons. You guys suck anyway, so what does it matter? Next up, we have the 49ers versus the Browns. The 49ers completely waffle stomped the Browns. Actually, no. There's another game that's more of a waffle stomp, so I'll save that terminology for later. The 49ers beat up on the Browns pretty badly. The 49ers won 26-8. Brock Purdy, he went 16 29, 168 yards and 1 touchdown through the air. On the ground, Christian McCaffrey had 20 carries for 53 yards and 1 touchdown. And, yeah, that's all I'll name on the rushing side. Receiving-wise, George Kittle had 4 receptions for 67 yards. Juwan Jennings had 4 receptions for 39 yards and 1 touchdown. Kyle Juszczyk had 2 receptions for 27 yards. Christian McCaffrey had 4 receptions for 21 yards. And that's everybody right there. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback quite a few times, putting Shedeur on his back and also forcing a fumble and a fumble return as well for some points, ultimately putting them even more ahead of the lowly Browns. Shedeur, he went 16 of 25, 149 yards and 1 touchdown through the air. Dylan Gabriel must have came in at one point and went 1 for 1 for 0 yards. Rushing-wise, Quinshon Judkins, he had 23 carries for 91 yards. Receiving-wise, Harold Fanning Jr. had 3 receptions for 43 yards and 1 touchdown. Jerry Jeudy had 3 receptions for 26 yards. Gage, holy balls. Gage Lavardane had 2 receptions for 23 yards. And Isaiah Bond had 1 reception for 18 yards. Sorry, I was just in amazement of that last name. Lavardane. And defensive-wise, they were not able to sack the quarterback once. Oh, sorry, no, they sacked the quarterback once. That was Myles Garrett. But they really weren't able to force any turnovers to make it a close game. Ultimately, pretty poor outing from Shedeur, apparently. I didn't watch the game. And apparently, rumors from the inside of the Browns organization say that they want Dylan Gabriel, that players and some coaches want Dylan Gabriel to be the starting quarterback moving forward. So, we'll see how everything shakes out. Maybe Shedeur just isn't built for Cleveland. We'll just have to wait and see. This was a massive game right here. We have Rams-Panthers. The Panthers beat the Rams 31-28. This was a good game anyway. Bryce Young, he went 15 of 20, 206 yards and 3 touchdowns. Chuba Hubbard, out of all people, was the leading rusher. He had 17 carries for 83 yards. Rico Dowell had 18 carries for 58 yards, and Bryce Young had 5 carries for 23 yards. Receiving-wise, Jalen Coker led the charge. He had 4 receptions for 74 yards and 1 touchdown. Terrell McMillan had 1 reception for 43 yards and 1 touchdown. Chuba Hubbard had 2 receptions for 41 yards and a touchdown. And Rico Dowell had 2 receptions for 21 yards. Defensive-wise, they had 2 interceptions. 1 was returned for a touchdown. And they had 1 fumble, which was also returned for a touchdown. Moving over to the Rams, Matthew Stafford, he went 18 of 28, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Blake Corum, he had 17 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown. Kyron Williams had 13 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown. Receiving-wise, Xavier Smith led the charge. He had 3 receptions for 82 yards. Puka Nacua had 6 receptions for 72 yards. Devontae Adams had 4 receptions for 58 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Colby Parkinson had 4 receptions for 27 yards. Defensive-wise, they were not able to sack the quarterback they sacked the quarterback once. Twice. My apologies. But they weren't able to force any turnovers whatsoever. So, yeah. Ultimately, pretty good win by the Panthers here, looking to get the NFC South. They play the Buccaneers twice, so they have a shot to do it. Rams are now in the mix again for their own division, but moving forward, they should be pretty fine. I'm not too concerned about the Rams. They're going to find a way to win, and ultimately, they could win out, for all we know. But as of right now, a loss like this, things need to be reevaluated moving forward. Jaguars Titans. This one was closer to the waffle stomp I was mentioning earlier, but it wasn't. Trevor Lawrence, he went 16 of 27, 229 yards, and 2 touchdowns through the air. On the ground, Travis Etienne, he had 12 carries for 28 yards. But Bashal Tutin had 8 carries for 17 yards and 1 touchdown. So there you go. Receiving-wise, Jacoby Myers led the way. He had 6 receptions for 90 yards and 1 touchdown. Brendan Strange had 3 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown. Brian Thomas Jr. had 2 receptions for 28 yards. And Parker Washington had 1 reception for 26 yards. Defense. They were able to force 2 fumbles. One of those for a fumble return. And they were able to sack the quarterback 3 times, shaking up the rookie quarterback so he couldn't do much. Speaking of said rookie quarterback, Cam Ward, he went 24 of 38, 141 yards. That's it. Tony Pollard, he had 10 carries for 60 yards. Cam Ward, he had 1 carry for 7 yards. Receiving, Chisholm Okonkwo had 4 receptions for 29 yards. Tajay Spears had 6 receptions for 25 yards. Gunnar Helm had 6 receptions for 23 yards. And Van Jefferson had 3 receptions for 20 yards. Defense, they were able to sack Trevor Lawrence thrice, or 3 times, and they were able to not force any turnovers. So ultimately, that probably would have cut down the lead, but definitely would have helped them. So Titans fall to 1-11. They're still the number 1 overall pick. Jaguars, with this win, propel themselves into the leading spot in the AFC South. Let's see if they can hold on to that moving forward. Cardinals Buccaneers, another meh kind of game. Buccaneers beat the Cardinals 20-17. Baker Mayfield went 18 of 28, 194 yards, 1 touchdown on the day. Rushing-wise, Bucky Irving led the charge with 17 carries for 71 yards and 1 touchdown. Baker Mayfield, he went 16 of 27 on the ground. Or 6 carries for 27 yards, sorry. Receiving-wise, Chris Godwin, he had 3 receptions for 78 yards. Emeka Mbuka had 4 receptions for 42 yards. Rashad White had 3 receptions for 22 yards. And Bucky Irving had 2 receptions for 20 yards. So ultimately, this was a pretty good day for the Buccaneers and for their receivers. And defensive-wise, they were able to intercept the quarterback once. And they were able to sack him twice. So forcing enough turnovers to put themselves ahead, and sacking and stopping the quarterback so the Cardinals couldn't get past the sticks. Speaking of the Cardinals, Jacoby Brissett, he went 29 of 40, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Rushing-wise, Zonovan Knight, he led the charge with 11 carries for 62 yards. Michael Carter had 5 receptions for 17 yards. And Jacoby Brissett had 3 carries for 16 yards. Receiving-wise, Trey McBride had 8 receptions for 82 yards and 1 touchdown. Marvin Harrison Jr. had 6 receptions for 69 yards. Michael Carter had 5 receptions for 47 yards. And Zonovan Knight had 3 receptions for 36 yards and a touchdown. Defense, they were able to sack the quarterback twice, and they were able to force a fumble, but it just wasn't enough to put them over the top of the Buccaneers. Ultimately, it was a close game. I believe the Cardinals were eliminated from the playoffs, or one more game will do it. Buccaneers, this is a good get-back game, especially after being on a 3-game losing streak. Let's see how you guys do against some of your division opponents who are pretty good, like the Panthers, coming closer to the end of the season. This is the waffle stomp I was talking about, ladies and gentlemen. The Seahawks beat the Vikings. Can you guess? If you looked it up, that's cheating. 26-0. Sam Darnold, he went 14-26, 128 yards on the day. Kenneth Walker, he had 13 carries for 56 yards on the ground. And Zach Charbonnet had 14 carries for 52 yards and a touchdown. Receiving-wise, A.J. Barner was the lead receiver. He had 14 receptions for 35 yards. Cooper Kupp had 3 receptions for 24 yards. And surprisingly, it was a quiet day for Jackson Smith-Njigba, who had 2 receptions for 23 yards. Cody White also had 1 reception for 21 yards. Figured I'd just mention him because he's the 4th and final one. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback a total of 4 times. And they also had a total of 4 interceptions on the day as well. This set up this Seahawks offense in prime positions in Vikings territory. And they also had 2 forced fumbles and 1 fumble return. So, ultimately, it was a good day for the Seahawks defense. Moving over to this Vikings offense, Max Brosmer, the rookie quarterback getting his first start, he went 19-30, 126 yards, and 4 interceptions through the air. Rushing, which is probably something they should have leaned more on, he had leading the charge was Jordan Mason. He had 6 carries for 47 yards. Xavier Scott had 3 carries for 17 yards. Receiving, T.J. Hockenson, he had 6 receptions for 59 yards. Jordan Addison had 5 receptions for 36 yards. Aaron Jones had 4 receptions for 22 yards, and Xavier Scott had 1 reception for 4 yards. And defense-wise, they were able to force 2 fumbles themselves with 1 fumble return. Then that's not a fumble return. No, that's not a fumble return. My apologies. They were able to force 2 fumbles and sack the quarterback 4 times as well. Just Sam Darnold was not throwing interceptions or turning the ball over in any form or fashion. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Bills beat the Steelers 26-7. Josh Allen, he went 15 of 23, 123 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Rushing-wise, James Cook, he had 32 carries for 144 yards. Josh Allen also had 8 carries for 38 yards and 1 touchdown. Receiving-wise, James Cook, he had 3 receptions for 33 yards. Dawson Knox had 3 receptions for 28 yards. Ty Johnson had 3 receptions for 20 yards. And Brandon Cooks had 1 reception for 13 yards. Defense-wise, they were able to intercept the ball, force a fumble, have a fumble return, and they were able to sack the quarterback only once. But it felt like they were getting more pressure on the Steelers' offense, which ultimately stopped them dead in their tracks every single drive. Moving over to the Steelers' offense, Aaron Rodgers, he went 10 for 21, 117 yards on the day. Eventually, he did injure his nose, and they had to bring in Mason Rudolph, who went 0 for 3 for 1 interception through the air. On the ground, Jaylen Warren had 10 carries for 35 yards and 1 touchdown. They probably need to get the ball to him more. Receiving-wise, Darnell Washington led the charge. He had 2 receptions for 45 yards. DK Metcalf had 3 receptions for 32 yards. Kenneth Gainwell had 2 receptions for 25 yards. And Jaylen Warren had 2 receptions for 9 yards. Defense, Jalen Ramsey. He was their leading defensive player. He was really the only one that stood out besides Cam Hayward. But Cam Hayward only stood out because he had words to Josh Allen. They exchanged some words after a pass completion. Well, this Steelers defense was able to intercept Josh once, and they were not able to sack him once, though, so that was something frustrating for this defensive line of the Steelers. But they were also able to force 2 fumbles as well. So they were able to generate opportunities, but this Bills defense just showed up to shut down this Steelers offense, no matter what they could try. Ultimately, Bills, good win. Steelers is a tough loss. You guys are going to be battling it out for the AFC North moving forward. So it's going to be interesting to see how you guys fare with an aging Aaron Rodgers in a tight race. Raiders-Chargers, this is one I'm going to skip over real quick. Chargers beat the Raiders 31-14. Justin Herbert went 15 out of 20, 151 yards and 2 touchdowns to 1 interception. It should also be noted that he injured his wrist and he needed a procedure to fix it, so we'll have to wait and see whether he'll be available for Monday night against the Eagles. Rushing-wise, Kamani Vidal led the charge. He had 25 carries for 126 yards and 1 touchdown. Receiving-wise, Ladd McConkey had 4 receptions for 39 yards and 1 touchdown. Trey Harris had 3 receptions for 30 yards. Keenan Allen had 4 receptions for 30 yards. And Quentin Johnson had 3 receptions for 23 yards and a touchdown on the day. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback. It looked like a total of 5 times. So they were able to apply significant pressure to Geno Smith whenever they wanted to, which forced 1 interception by Geno and also a forced fumble on the offense as well. Speaking of Geno Smith, he went 18 of 23, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception on the day. Ashton Jeanty had 15 carries for 31 yards on the ground. Receiving-wise, Brock Bowers was their lead receiver. He had 4 receptions for 26 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. Ashton Jeanty, he had 6 receptions for 30 yards. Jack Beck had 2 receptions for 22 yards, and Trey Tucker had 3 receptions for 20 yards. Defense-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback a total of 3 times. And all of those being Justin Herbert, because Trey Lance did come in, but I didn't mention him because he didn't do anything. And they were able to force 1 interception of Justin Herbert as well. No forced fumbles to put them in a closer game. So, with this loss, the Raiders are officially eliminated from the NFL playoffs. And, yeah, Chargers, good win. We're going to have to wait and see how Justin Herbert is faring. He's day-to-day. We're just going to have to wait and see whether he's going to be able to come back from that injury quick enough to face off against the Eagles on Monday Night Football. Please, dear God, please do not be well enough. Anyway, Broncos-Commanders. The Broncos squeak out a win against the lowly Commanders, 27-26. Bo Nix, he went 29 of 45, 321 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Rushing-wise, R.J. Harvey led the way. He had 13 carries for 35 yards and 2 touchdowns. Receiving, Evan Ingram led the way. He had 6 receptions for 79 yards. Courtland Sutton had 5 receptions for 62 yards and a touchdown. Adam Troutman had 3 receptions for 45 yards. And Pat Bryant had 3 receptions for 42 yards. Defensive-wise, the Broncos were able to sack the quarterback a total of 2 times. They also forced 1 interception of Marcus Mariota and 1 forced fumble on the offense. Speaking of Marcus Mariota, he went 28 of 50, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day, and 1 interception. Mariota was also their leading rusher with 10 carries for 55 yards. Chris Rodriguez had 11 carries for 41 yards and 1 touchdown. Receiving-wise, Zach Ertz, he had 10 receptions for 106 yards. Terry McLaurin had 7 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown. Deebo Samuel had 5 receptions for 64 yards, and Colson Yankoff had 1 reception for 14 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback a total of 1 time, and they were able to force 1 interception of Bo Nix as well. Ultimately, the turnovers by these two teams made it a very close game. This game went in overtime, and the Commanders tried to go for 2, and they ultimately failed against this Broncos defense. So Broncos held on at the very end by the skin of their teeth. So ultimately, good win by the Broncos. Better luck next time, Commanders. I mean, you guys are coming into a rough stretch yourself anyway, where you guys have to face, I don't know, you guys might have a couple wins facing the Vikings, might lose to the Giants, lose to the Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles, so you guys might have one more win this season. But hey, at least nobody can't say that you didn't try. And then we had another rout here on Monday night. We had the Patriots versus the Giants, which ended up with the Patriots winning 33-15. Drake May, he went 24-31, 282 yards, and 2 touchdowns through the air. Rushing-wise, Trevion Henderson led the charge. He had 11 carries for 67 yards. And Ramondre Stevenson had 12 carries for 40 yards for what it's worth. Hunter Henry, he had 4 receptions for 73 yards. Ramondre Stevenson had 3 receptions for 40 yards. Kayshon Boutte had 4 receptions for 35 yards and a touchdown. And Kyle Williams had 1 reception for 33 yards and 1 touchdown. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback a total of twice, but they weren't able to force any interceptions, nor were they able to force any forced fumbles. So it led to just the Patriots having to go down and score on long, methodical drives. Moving over to the Giants here, Jackson Dart, he went 17-24, 139 yards, and 1 touchdown on the day. Rushing-wise, Devin Singletary led the charge with 12 carries for 28 yards and 1 touchdown. And Tyrone Tracy Jr. had 10 carries for 36 yards. Receiving, Darius Slayton led the charge with 2 receptions for 41 yards and 1 touchdown. Devin Singletary had 3 receptions for 34 yards. Wan'Dale Robinson had 7 receptions for 34 yards. And Theo Johnson had 3 receptions for 29 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback 3 times, ultimately getting after the MVP candidate and putting him flat on his back. But they were not able to force any turnovers themselves, so that ultimately hurt them and did not allow them to cut down on this Patriot lead. All right, so that was this past weekend's games. Let's get into this weekend's games. We got some interesting matchups here. We got some must-see TV, if you want me to be honest. Last week was my worst week of the season for picks. I went 8-8. I know, I can't believe it either, but 8-8, and my overall on the season so far is 126-67 on my picks. So let's jump right into it. I have a shootout on Thursday night between the Detroit Lions and Cowboys. Give me the Detroit Lions bouncing back and finding a way to win in a shootout, 42-35 against the Cowgirls. Seahawks, Falcons. Give me the Seahawks. Their defense is on a roll. Their offense needs to bounce back after a quiet game last week. So give me the Seahawks finding a way to just demolish the Falcons. Oh, what's fair? 31-17. Titans versus Browns. Give me the Browns. I don't like this Titans defense that much, and I feel like the Titans are just in tank mode at this point. So give me the Browns beating up on the lowly Titans in a close matchup, 20-10. Commanders Vikings. The money line's on the Vikings, but give me the Commanders. I just think that they're the overall better team here right now. Even with Marcus Mariota under center, they're still dynamic. Terry McLaurin's getting back to his old self. So give me the Commanders over the Vikings. 24-17. Dolphins Jets. Give me the Dolphins. I feel like it would be a long shot for the Jets to win here. There's a world where they do. And I think it's going to be a close game any which way you put it. I think it's going to be 23-20 Dolphins on a last-second field goal. But the Jets overall have a chance to win this, in my opinion. Saints Buccaneers by a mile. I think they're gonna probably roll over the Saints and just keep moving forward. They have the Panthers in their sights, and as long as the Panthers keep moving forward, they have the Buccaneers in their sights. So give me the Bucs over the Saints. 28-10. Colts Jaguars. I believe a little bit more in the Colts. Now, obviously, this all depends on the health of Daniel Jones. He is the captain. He is the general of this offense. Although Jonathan Taylor is a star, Daniel Jones keeps this offense humming. So as long as he's healthy, I have the Colts beating up on the Jaguars here, 27-17. I feel like the Jaguars will have a shot, but they'll probably blow it a couple of times. So give me the Colts over the Jaguars, 27-17. We have the battle of the AFC North. That being I'm trying to pull something up to make this a little bit more fun here. Here we go. We have the Steelers versus the Ravens. All right. Now, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right. As much as I would love to believe in the Steelers winning this, I'm just not sure that I can. Steelers and Ravens have had a lopsided back and forth history with who wins and who loses, and they play straight up AFC North football. They play defense. I don't believe in either of these teams' defenses, but I'm going to have to go with the Ravens here. It's going to be a messy match. It's going to be close, and I think it's going to be like 16-10. All right. I think there's going to be a lot of field goals, and I think the Ravens are just going to find a way to win, but it's not going to be pretty. And the Steelers are going to fall a game behind in the division and have to pray that they can bounce back against the Ravens later in the season. So give me the Ravens as of right now, 16-10. Next up, we got Bills-Bengals. Give me the Bills. I just feel like they're the overall better team. And yes, the Bengals looked like a top-tier team against the Ravens. I don't think the Ravens are that good anyway. So give me the Bills probably coming out here and mushing the Bengals. Give me the... What's the score? It's high scoring, so I think it's going to be like 38-35. Last-second field goal by the Bills. Put them over the top, over the Bengals. Next up, we have Broncos-Raiders. Give me the Broncos. This is such an easy game, and if the Broncos make it close, I'm going to have serious questions moving forward. But, yeah, give me the Broncos. This should be a shutout, almost 28-7, probably. Bears-Packers. Everybody's saying the Packers. Give me the Bears. I just have this weird feeling that the Bears are going to go on this dynastic run here late. And so it starts, obviously it started with the Eagles, now it goes on to the Packers. So give me the Bears probably as the upset of the weekend. Give me the Bears 38-28. Rams, Cardinals, give me the Rams. Rams are going to decimate their division opponent, especially after losing. So give me the Rams 31-10 over the Cardinals. Chiefs, Texans, I am going to pick the Texans. I think this defense is going to show up. It's going to find a way to shut down Mahomes, and the Chiefs are going to be one step closer to being eliminated from the playoffs. So, give me the Texans in a close matchup, one-score game, 27-24. And Monday Night Football, we have the Eagles versus Chargers. As of right now, I don't know if Justin Herbert is going to play or not, so we have to assume that Trey Lance is starting, and I don't believe in that offense at all under Trey Lance. So give me the Eagles coming back out, having a dominant win over the Chargers, 38-10. Alright, so that's it for this week's episode of the Flying with the Flock podcast. I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. And obviously, like I promised, I'll have some new stuff. I'm tinkering with some stuff in the background for next season, so we're just going to have to wait and see. But, till next episode, I've been your host, Matt. And remember, go Birds.